Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I'm going to be giving you 10 tips on how to be a smart sneakerhead.
Yeah, well, why would I care about your tips? Why would anyone care about your tips for the matter? What do you know?
Well, to be fair, these are just my opinions. Everything I'm going to be saying in this video, it is based on personal experience. Now, I've been collecting sneakers since 2013 and I've picked up a couple of things here and there that I feel like could help all of you. Now, I get it. A lot of you guys have much more experience than me, and because of that, I want you guys to share some of your experiences, some of your tips, the stuff that you have to say. I read all comments, and everyone else reads some comments too. This is a community, guys. This isn't just a channel. But let's get right into it. I'm not trying to waste any of your time here. So, tip number 10. You have to learn that when it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. And I learned this firsthand when I was trying to buy my first pair of nice sneakers. I remember it very vividly. I was selling candy out of my locker because I was too young to get a job. I finally grinded out and I got $200 and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. What do I spend it on? I want to get my first nice pair of shoes because I was wearing a beat pair of D Roses at the time. So I looked on Instagram. At the time there was no StockX or GOAT. So I found a pair of Bred 11s for $200. I didn't know how PayPal worked, so I gifted the guy the PayPal money, something you should never, ever do, no matter how much you trust somebody. And I never got my shoes. Good story, right? No, it's a terrible story. Now, it was a learning experience, and hopefully none of this stuff ever happens to you guys. The thing to remember is that when it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. Now, we do hear about those miracle stories of the mom selling their kids' shoe collection without them knowing, and you get Yeezys for $100 or you get Yeezys for $20. That rarely ever happens. I see a lot of you guys DMing me like legit check things. They're showing me Oreo human races for like $200. Come on. That's not real. The best way to legit check things is through the price tag. It's that simple, guys. But let's move on. Tip number 9. Be patient when paying resale. Now, this sucks. Paying resale it's very, very annoying. I've taken L's. I feel the pain. And I know some of you guys have taken L's too. It's all going to happen to us sooner or later in the future. But when you do take an L and you really want that shoe, you have to keep in mind that most of the orders nowadays, they come from online shipments. So as soon as you take the L, don't go right ahead and pay resale on StockX or GOAT. Give it a couple of days, maybe like 5 days to a week. That's when everyone will get their online shipments, and the price it'll drop a significant amount, and you'll be happy that you waited that little bit of extra time. Tip number 8, when you know a shoe's going to be hyped, when you know it's going to be limited, try to cop as many pairs as you can. I see a lot of people just limiting themselves to only one because they say, I only need one shoe to wear, and I get it. I get that some of you guys out there are against reselling. I get that notion. I've explained my thoughts on it in the past, but I really do think that if your job doesn't pay a ton, or perhaps you're too young to get a job like where I was a couple years ago, I do think that reselling could really, really help your shoe collection. Now, I'm not telling you to get a bot. I'm not telling you to get 30 pairs of Yeezys and resell them. No. I'm saying when the Zebras released, I got 2 pairs. I kept one for myself to rock them because I love those shoes, but I sold the other pair, and it made it so the pair of Yeezys that I got, they were completely free, in addition to a couple of extra bucks from the profits. So I feel like that's super, super important to improving your sneaker collection because it's free shoes, guys. Tip number 7. This is highly opinionated. You don't have to take this tip at all, but it's diversify. I think it's important to have not only GRs in your collection, but I think it's important to have some hype in your collection as well. And I see a lot of people, they don't buy hype at all. They want to stay away from the mainstream, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Let me ask, what did you think of the movie Titanic?
Horrible. One of the worst movies ever made.
How about Slumdog Millionaire?
Overrated. Just a terrible movie.
Cocktail.
Actually, not a bad film. As classically structured cinema, Cocktail was one of the best films of its era.
I think you should be buying what you love. And I feel like because even if it's hype, a lot of these people, they're staying away from it. Yeah, obviously, there are people who only buy hype, even if they don't like a shoe. You should never, ever buy a shoe to only flex in. You could flex in a shoe that you love, but don't just buy it to flex. I think it's super, super crucial to buy buy a shoe that you really like the colorway of, that you love the silhouette of. Tip number 6. This is kind of like the opposite side of the spectrum for tip number 9. This tip isn't just for paying resale. It also comes into play when you got to buy your GRs, because I love GRs, guys. I love the general releases. And it's very important to remember that you shouldn't necessarily be buying the shoe on release date for that high retail price if you know it's a GR. One, you could wait for the sale. That's something I like to do. But if you don't want to wait for the sale, after like 2-3 weeks of the release, if you go on GOAT or StockX, the prices are usually significantly lower. Tip number 5. This is a really, really simple, basic tip that I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, Keith, why are you even mentioning this? The reason I'm mentioning this is because I had this problem. And the problem was being afraid to wear your shoes. I would have so many nice shoes, but because they were valuable, I was afraid to take them out of the house. I was afraid that if I stepped in mud, if I creased them more, I'd lose value. You have to keep in mind that collecting shoes isn't all about who has the most valuable collection. It's about the love for the game. It's about the culture. It's about the fun. And I think that wearing your kicks, although displaying is super cool as well, I think wearing your kicks is the number one priority in the sneaker game. Tip number 4. This is something that I see a lot of people with big collections, they don't necessarily do, and I really, really would say that they should, and that's keeping OG all. Now, I see a lot of people keeping their shoes on shelves like this, but at least for your hype shoes, I think it's important that you keep the box, the extra laces, the accessories, and some of these people, they just throw it out. The reason I'm saying keep OG all, if you ever need to sell your shoes, if your insurance won't pay for a car accident, you could go to your shoe collection and you could sell 2 or 3 pairs to perhaps pay for that. I think when you have OG all, not only will it increase the value of your shoes because it makes it easier to know that it's real, but it also attracts more people to buying it. So if you have an extra closet, at least keep OG all for your hyped shoe. Tip number 3, this is one of my biggest tips. You gotta learn to negotiate properly. Some people that I've sold to in the past, I'll give them a price, and they just say okay, and they pay the price. Now that's great for me and all, but I kind of feel bad for them because I usually mark up my price maybe like 10% above what I actually want because I leave room for negotiation. But some of these people, it's like they're scared to negotiate. They just say okay, they take the price, and they buy the shoe, even though I would have been willing to go a little lower for them. Keep this in mind. If you save $20 on 5 pairs of shoes, you just made $100. That's more than I make at one day of work. Tip number 2, another big one. Engage with the sneaker community. So if you're in line for a sneaker raffle, there's a shoe releasing, and you're outside in line and you see tons of sneakerheads, I think it's very important to talk to them. Simply engage in conversation. Maybe you grab their Instagram or something like that, and you could trade DMs with them. Hey man, do you know any info about the next upcoming release? Maybe what stores you're going to be getting them? But most importantly, you guys could do deals together. And the reason doing deals in person is so beautiful is because you both come out on top. PayPal gets no money, StockX gets no money, GOAT doesn't get any money. Nope, it's just the two of you guys. This is the number one way to do deals, guys. And you really just, you can't be afraid to talk to people. Because if I were to make a deal with someone for Yeezys, and I were to say, okay man, they're going for $3.90 on StockX. StockX charges a 13% fee because PayPal is 3%, they're a 10% fee. So I'll cut you a deal. I'll drop my price $20. So that person will save $20 when buying, but in addition to that, I'll also save an extra $10 or so because of the fees, even though I subtracted $20 already. That's why cash is king, guys. I think it's super important to engage in the sneaker community. And who knows, maybe you'll meet some long-term friends. Tip number 1, subscribe. What? No, honestly, guys, subscribe. Like that's one of my biggest tips. Because I see a lot of people, they don't even try on release date. They sleep in. I think it's really important to at least give it your best effort because I'm putting out these How to Cop guides. I've taken L's. It sucks. I don't like the way it feels. So because of that, I like sharing with you guys every little bit of information that I have, some potential jigs that I find, maybe just what raffles to join, things of that nature. I just want you to have the best chance of copying for retail. I'm all for this being a huge community, guys. This isn't just a channel. In my videos, I also do some predictions on what shoes I think will resell in case you want to make a little extra money one weekend. In addition to that, if you're against reselling, that's cool. I also do some shoe reviews where in those shoe reviews I make some pathetic comedic endeavors. They're usually pretty bad, but feel free to check them out. Maybe leave a like out of sympathy. But I guess I'll conclude it with that. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to leave a like out of sympathy. Whatever floats your boat. Have a fantastic day.